Okay, you saw that messy sink here with a bunch of Tupperware in it. That means that we're out of leftovers, so it's time to cook another episode. These actually were results of an episode we threw away. We did a whole cooking session just earlier this week, and the only new item that we had this time is red potatoes. I think they're probably could have rebranded with something more exciting, just going with the color, I think. But I guess that's what the orange people did. So there was nothing new. Only potatoes were the only thing that was new. We were still doing bell peppers and onions and potatoes. And I got through with it and I just wasn't happy. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And I realized on my way to the grocery store today that the problem was that there was no new things. We want to cook with new things here, right? We want it to be exciting. So on the way to the grocery, I decided with no plans at all, I was just going to pluck things out of the vegetable section, basically. One of the things we're going to cook today is corn. I think that we're going to scrape off the corn, but we're going to talk about that later. By the way, it's important to recognize that many of the things that we're cooking with today I've never cooked with. I have cooked with potatoes, and we are going to add those to this dish to make it, thicker, and it's got to last longer. My leftovers, today's Friday, my leftovers didn't last as long as they needed to, so I did something wrong with the vegetables. I think we gotta cook from the pan, and we're gonna make them less soggy. We're gonna try. We're also cooking bell peppers, which we've done that before. That's one of my staples. This is when I realized that we had to cook something new, because my last dish had green peppers in it, and potatoes is the only new thing, and potatoes hardly new. I mean, those potatoes, I got those like last week, and they're still good. So they almost seem like old potatoes somehow. And then carrots. Usually I use these to snack on. Carrots are great if you put them in the fridge and you eat them raw. And when you're feeling snacky and you're not really hungry, you're just eating, because you're bored. Carrots are great because they really make it a miserable experience. And then, lastly, I bought one of these yellow things. You can, if you want to tell me what this is, you could do that in comments. However, I want to give you a little bit. Don't just pipe in and be a know-it-all. If you're going to tell me what this is, I want to know the origin story. Tell me which continent it comes from. Maybe a popular dish that it's made in. At the very least, a little brief history on where it comes from. I don't know what it is. It's yellow. It looks like a cucumber. It has like when you knock on it, it kind of seems like watermelon, sort of. Like if I could push my thumb through it. So it feels juicy. I think I'm just going to slice it up and we're going to put that in the pan too. That's basically what we're going to try to do today. Is cut things up and put them in the pan. And I don't know if we're going to use the lid or not. But because remember, every time we use the lid, things get a little soggy. It cooks from the top, but with all of the water that gets let out of these things, it makes everything kind of soupy. So I don't know if we're going to get into trying to make texture better this early in the game. We've just started cooking with new vegetables. But I'm thinking about messing around with texture. Okay. I've got to clean up some of this Tupperware and get this kitchen in order before we cook. But that's the mission for today, and I'm going to get back to you soon. I'm still cleaning. I'm not finished yet. We're not starting the episode. I just noticed how I placed everything here in that pan. My little cast iron pan. You see a little display? I feel like that's very professional. I think maybe that's how we'll present all future dishes and how we're going to do it. I mean, the effect is lost because we're going to put chicken. It's going to be part of this dish. We're not going to, that would look ugly to put raw chicken across the vegetables. It also wouldn't look healthy, I would think. But I just thought that looked really cool, and I wanted to bring you along with that. All right, we'll be back. Okay, I'll start with this, because look how pretty that is. These are all the vegetables we're going to cook today. You're going to notice, if you missed my cooking special, my cleaning special, you can see we got a problem with this spatula. I didn't have any place to soak it. So I don't know what we're going to do about that. I think if we use soap and try to get most of the chunks off of there, it'll be fine. It's not going to affect the flavor. Now, for those of you who did miss my cleaning special, I'm going to do a quick brief for your workspace, right? This is where we're going to be cutting vegetables. This guy, I'm going to use soap on this. This is my cooking, my cutting board. It's a little messy. I'm going to get that. For the rest of everything, what you want to do, this is for efficiency's sake. If you want to be fast and efficient in your kitchen space, look at all the stuff, all the chunks from the last time I cooked are sitting here on top. What you want to do, I use a pizza scraper. I bought this on Amazon. You use this with dough and something related to cooking pizzas. And mine actually has a little measuring tool on there. so you could use it as a straight edge around the house. So you're gonna take all these chunks and we're gonna go right on the floor with that, and then we can sweep it up. Don't bother putting it in your hand. I see people trying to catch chunks in their hand. Don't do that. Just get it on the floor and you can get it with the broom. And now that it's on the floor, I can go ahead and make a mess and ignore it and then get back to it later. So I'm gonna get a little bit more of this off of here. And then this, I do encourage you to use soap on this, but again, as we discussed in our first cooking episode, if you cook it, you're probably out of the woods. But I like it to look nice. That way, you know, if there's anybody around, you don't want them to be like, did you clean your cutting board? You know, so I'm gonna clean mine anyway, even though nobody's around to notice. Okay, when we come back, we're gonna be dealing with some of these guys, and we're gonna experiment with this corn, and obviously always the usual, we're cooking the onions first, and then yellow thing. I'm really looking forward to this guy because I want to cut into that and see what it's like. All right, we'll be back. All right, we just began the first phase of cooking vegetables. I started with the onions. They were really rough today. I wonder if rough today meaning making the eyes water. I wonder if that means that they're better, more ripe, more flavorful. I don't know. And this time I went with bigger chunks. This is kind of the chunk I had this time. Why would I do that? It's more of an experiment because I don't know. I assume the bigger it is, the longer it takes to cook down. Which now I'm thinking about it, that's probably not what I want. I want it to cook down so I can move on to other things. Anyway, for those of you who are on my last, that's right, one of the onions just fell on the ground and I put it back in. You know, I don't think it matters. You know, I mean, if you drop a steak on the ground, you should rinse it with water before you put it back on the grill, but you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm gonna try to cook these down. I think what we have here is another too many vegetable problem situation. So I'm doing something radical this time. I'm gonna cook the potatoes separately from the vegetables. Those of you who cook like I do like to put everything as much as possible in one pan to make it one sitting, to make it one cooking chore, one and done situation. Normally I would do that. The reason I was not crazy about my last dish is that the potatoes, everything was kind of soupy and soggy because I had to use the lid. The lid, if you remember, it helps cook from the top, so you cook things more thoroughly. The problem is it also traps all the water that escapes. Remember, the mushrooms give off a lot of water, and it makes everything into sort of a soup. And that problem happened, so I didn't have any crisp at all. But the potatoes, to wait for these guys to cook with my other vegetables, they're never going to cook. I would need to use a lid. So I'm going to try not to use a lid, see what happens, and then cook my potatoes separately. Right now the onions are being cooked down, and like I said, you can't really go wrong cooking onions for a long time. So we're going to pick back up. When we start breaking into new vegetables, I'm not going to show you guys the green peppers because we did those already on the last episode. But when we start moving into the new veggies, I'm going to bring you along for the ride. All right, see you in a few minutes. All right, we moved into green pepper phase. I'm doing the usual here, salt and pepper. Remember? Also, my personal favorite, cumin, going in again. Like I said, one of my favorite spices. I don't think we're going to try anything new right now. Well, you know what we did on the episode that I cut? We put in something called marjoram. So I'm going to put that in there. Let's see what that's like. I realized something about the green peppers. I've been cooking with them so long during the pandemic that I'm not even sure if I care about them. Like when I close my eyes, I'm not like, green peppers. I mean, I know that they add to a dish, but it occurred to me while I was chopping them up, like, why am I still doing this? You know? Has anyone ever had that issue? I'm cooking it with onions, assuming they sort of do the thing. I don't know. I might be moving on to the old usuals because I'm not even sure what green peppers are really contributing to the flavor profile for our dish. But they're in there now and they're cooking now with the onions. And after that, guys, we're getting into all the new stuff. The corn and the yellow thing. We'll see you soon. All right, this is one of our new vegetables we're working with today. This is corn. Now, the only way I've ever seen corn is served at like barbecues on the cob, which is like it is now, but without being cooked, or out of a can. I grew up with it coming out of a can. I don't buy things out of a can because I don't have a can opener. Now it seems like an easy fix. It probably is pretty cost effective, but cans are more expensive, and we're always on a budget. And the goal here, obviously, is not to spend a lot of money. Otherwise, we could just eat out if we're going to spend a lot of money. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to scrape off that. I don't know if I'm going to do it actually in the pan. That might could save a dish. I'm going to try to do it in the pan. Man, I wish I had a way for you guys to observe. But we're going to start doing this in the pan and see how it goes. And then we're going to get back and I'll report back and let you know. Just give me 1 second.